reality. Thank you for your continued support of global education.
We are now pleased to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. John Santos, a distinguished teacher from High Tech High, United States.
Mr. Santos is an expert in designing equitable and impactful project-based learning experiences. Today, he'll speak on elements of an impactful project design.
Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. John Santos.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. And good morning. We're coming to you from San Diego, California, where it's actually dawning on evening for us, for Alexa, Helen Shao, and myself. But we're so honored to have been invited to be here to share in this experience tonight. I'm going to go ahead and share some slides. There we go. Can you all see that? Wonderful. Then I'm going to start in. To start in on this conversation, I'd like to thank Principal Tong, Miss Winnie Wong, and Miss Yvette Chung for inviting us here to be part of the ACT Dreamer International Forum this morning. I'd also like to thank you for your passionate and inspiring words that you shared with us before I was able to come on. As an educator, one of my favorite things to do is to bring together collaborative minds to share perspectives, practices, and ideas. And I find this morning to be particularly inspiring because it's an opportunity to cross a bridge and lift up the voices and ideas of our next generation of educational innovators and designers. Like I mentioned, I'm speaking to you this morning from a school in San Diego, California called High Tech High. High Tech High was started 25 years ago when our school founders noticed that while students were learning how to be effective students in school environments, they were not taking away very much that could be applied to the world outside of their school walls. In designing our schools, we drew influence from educational visionaries like Paulo Freire and John Dewey, who both felt that experiences students had inside of their school walls should mirror the dynamic and ever-changing experiences of the worlds they lived in. We've also looked to global resources like the United Health Organization's Sustainable Development Goals to inspire our project designs and collaboration. The SDGs continue to be a valuable resource for the global community of educators, and I'm so happy to hear that they've been centered as a significant component in this morning's project designs. When we started High Tech High 25 years ago, we really started as an experiment with many of our ideas that had not yet been put into action. We knew that the goal of our schools was to make a meaningful learning experiences accessible for all students and to cultivate lifelong learners who are equipped to be productive and fulfilled members of a global community. What we're looking at here is a project design tool that we used that has come to be called a project kaleidoscope. And I have a story behind this project kaleidoscope. So when we first started our schools, like I mentioned, High Tech High was a bit of an experiment. We knew what we wanted for our community, but none of us had really ever taught in these ways because there weren't any pre-existing models that existed for us to kind of lean into. And so what we did is we planned projects, we planned learning experiences, and we tried. And within the process of trying to design these learning experiences, there were many successes. And there were also many stumbles and many mistakes that we made along the way. But what we did as a community of educators is we created these we tried practices, and then we shared our experiences with each other. And over 25 years, what we've come up with is elements that when are included in projects, the projects tend themselves to be successful. And so what you're seeing here and what I want to show you is, yes, I want to show you an effective tool for project design. This is a great way to approach designing projects. But what it represents actually is a collection of shared experiences from 25 years of educators that are part of our community. And what I hope you'll do today is that you'll take this idea with you, that really creating these tools and designing impactful, meaningful learning experiences, it really comes when we, within our own classrooms, within our own educational contexts, are trying things that we're trying new things that we feel will set students up to be successful and feel fulfilled in the world outside of the school walls, but then sharing those practices with each other and coming up with collective best practices. This is the part I'm most excited about. When I was invited to be part of this conversation today, I thought about what it was that it represents. And what I've talked about already this morning is this idea of the history of a change in schools. Schools for many years were designed in absence of many voices. Schools for many years were designed in ways to make students effective students, but not necessarily provide them with any sort of takeaways that they could take outside of school walls and apply to the real world outside of their school context. And so today, when I heard that what we were coming to do was to actually hear student ideas and student design projects, I visualized a bridge. And I visualized that this morning what this represents is that we're crossing this bridge. And while, yes, we're still considering perspectives from past educators, while, yes, we're still inspired by educational philosophers like John Dewey and Paulo Freire, and yes, while we're still making sure to be influenced by SDGs, I think it's so crucial and important that we're also now, in this morning, this pivotal moment, we're including student voice. And Helen, myself, and Alexa are all very inspired by this act of having students come together and be part of designing learning experiences. And we hope this marks the beginning of students both continuing to design learning experiences for their schools, as they are the ones who exist inside of that learning experience, but also to share this culture with other students and inspire other students to bring voice into educational design. And for the teachers that are here, to consider ways that we might continue to bring student voice into educational design. And so, like I mentioned, this morning we build a bridge into the future of education as we invite the next generation of educational innovators to share their learning designs. There's a duality to this moment, though. It exists as both an opportunity and a responsibility. It's an opportunity for our participants to be agents of change in their own educational communities and design learning experiences that mirror the dynamicism of the rapidly changing global landscape. But it also carries the responsibility of ethics and equity. We must constantly make sure that our designs are inclusive of all members of our global community and support the betterment for all. And so with all good projects, I think it's really important to kick off any project with an essential or a driving question. And I thought about what the driving question might be for tonight, and this is the best I could come up with. It's certainly, I'm certainly open to your critical feedback, but I thought that this might be the driving question for what it is that we're here doing tonight. And so I thought, how can we design authentic, relevant learning experiences that foster student agency and ownership in creating solutions for real-world challenges connected to the Sustainable Development Goals? And as we hear from the student projects tonight, we'll try to consider these and see to what degree the project's designs live into these this essential question. Now, earlier I shared a project design tool called the Project Kaleidoscope. And I told you a little bit about the history of the kaleidoscope and how that came to be. It came to be from groups of educators sharing best practices over years and years and years of trial and error. And my thinking is that over time, even that kaleidoscope will be subject to change as the context outside of the school walls changes as well. But for now, what we've done for this evening is we've distilled some of those components from the kaleidoscope that felt relevant for a project design pitch, and we've brought them here tonight. And so the elements that we felt that would contribute to an impactful project are projected in front of you tonight on the screen. And what we find is that when projects have these elements in them, they tend to be more impactful and more successful. And so an impactful project should have a North Star. It should have learning goals and a great clarity around what it is that students are going to be learning. An impactful project should also have clarity around what types of products and outcomes are associated with the learning arc for students. We feel that these projects, again, going back to what I had mentioned in terms of connecting school and our learning experiences within school, we feel that they should be connected outside of the school walls to the actual community. And we feel like a great resource for that has been the United Health Organization's Sustainable Development Goals. And so we feel that project designs and impactful project designs should have a clear connection to Sustainable Development Goals. Successful projects typically, just like tonight's conversation, tend to have a strong essential or a driving question. This is a question that allows students, it's not easy to answer and you can't answer it in one quick research, but it's something that students are striving towards answering the entire time they're participating in a project experience. We've also found that it is essential to including community partners and collaborators in a successful project design. And lastly, we felt that it's very important to honor the work and learning of students by celebrating their learning and sharing it with the community, and also to be able to celebrate the community partnerships and collaborations that happen within a project. And so it's really important to share and exhibit learning at the end of a project and to be able to share that with our community. And so these elements are the elements that we shared with the community of students who are going to be presenting projects tonight. And these are kind of the parameters that we're looking for. So Helen, myself, and Alexa are going to be kind of looking at projects, and we're going to be listening to see within the project descriptions, what are those learning goals? What types of project outcomes are they predicting? How does it connect to sustainable development goals? What will be the driving question that drives that learning? Who will be the community partners? And then also, how will you share this with the community? Oh, not yet. So what we have in front of us is what we currently consider to be the elements of a powerful project. And this is, like I said, this is where we're at this morning. In another 10 to 15 years, the world outside of our school walls will likely have changed, and our ideas of what learning design should look like will likely have changed as well. It's an ever-evolving conversation. We're excited to hear the ideas, perspectives, and designs that you've brought this morning. And the thing that I would want to leave you with is that all of our participants today and the faces that I'm looking at, what we want you to know is that you're making a valuable contribution to the global learning community. And I'm beyond inspired to see that groups of students, I think of myself as a high school student, and to think that students your age care this much about learning, your own learning within the moment, but then the learning that happens after you and the subsequent learning generations, that you've put effort and time and passion into designing meaningful learning experiences that we get to hear. It's an enormous privilege for us to be here tonight, to be able to hear from you. And I just want to extend an enormous gratitude and share how grateful I am that you've invited me to be part of this conversation tonight. And my hope is that this evening marks the beginning of a continued conversation where we're able to continue to come back and share project experiences and share those successes that I was talking about, and also share things that we've tried that have gone differently than we thought they might go. But I'm very excited for this to be part of the beginning of a conversation. And for the entire community of you that are out there, I just want to extend my gratitude and thanks. We're very inspired. Thank you very much again for the honor of inviting us to be part of this inspiring event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santos, for that powerful keynote.
Now we welcome students from High Tech High to present the ACT initiative, titled The Innocence Project.
Hi, my name is Alexa Aranda. I'm a senior at High Tech High, and I have some slides that I'm going to be presenting off of just so you guys have a visual of what I'm talking about. Can you all see my screen at all?
We cannot see the screen.
Not yet.
No? Okay, I'm going to try to do it one more time. Let's see. Okay. Are we there now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, like I said, hi, I'm a senior from High Tech High, and I'm one of John Santos' current students, and I've been going to High Tech High since I was in the 7th grade, so I'm very familiar with the project-based learning curriculum and what it's like to work in personalized projects with groups and different community collaborators. And I'd like to say a big thank you to Principal Tong and Miss Winnie Wang and Mrs. Yvette Chung for having me and Mr. John and Miss Helen here. I really appreciate it. It's a big honor to be speaking in front of all of you and presenting this to you today. So yeah, we're gonna get started with this. The presentation that I'm going to be talking to you guys about is a presentation I did last year, my junior year. It was the Innocence Project. And essentially, the Innocence Project was a project where a group of my classmates and I worked on open cases of people who are currently wrongfully convicted for crimes that they didn't do. And we were working with this nonprofit organization that was called the Innocence Project. The essential questions for this project itself were: why are people wrongfully convicted? Who are people who are typically wrongfully convicted? And why is it so difficult to exonerate people who are wrongfully convicted? And in this project, we studied what laws exist to prevent people from being wrongfully convicted, and why does the U.S. have such high incarceration rates. And those are things that we really dove into when looking into this project and working with attorneys. The main learning goals were kind of us students. We were learning the laws that are surrounded by the justice system in the U.S., here in the U.S., and we were trying to just figure out what are the answers behind obviously these essential questions and why this happens to people, and just kind of getting to know these sorry, I'm blanking, but these laws, really getting to know them and how we can make a difference in our, not only on a local level, but on a bigger level. And obviously the connections to the SDGs to this project was these people deserve justice. A lot of these cases that we were working on were people who were just misidentified or were in there for things that they obviously didn't do, and they didn't deserve the treatment that they got during their trials. They got mistried, or there was just a lot of unlawful things done to them. And so this is sorry. And so obviously not only do the people who have been wrongfully convicted, but their families, their communities, and a lot of the other people who are around them obviously deserve the peace of knowing that our justice system is getting better. And so we were working towards justice for these people. And like I mentioned earlier, I worked with two members or two classmates. I worked with my classmate Turin Burdick and Finn Saucedo. Everyone worked in groups of threes, and we collaborated with attorneys who were actually students at Cal Western School of Law. They were students, they were also actual attorneys and professors. We worked with them to unpack the cases. We had to read through a bunch of these huge packets of legal documents and learn legal terms. We had to learn the laws. We had to really become mini attorneys, and these community partners helped us with that. And at the end of this project, when we had gone through everything and we learned all these things, we got cases on people who were actively in prison, serving their sentence and trying to appeal their cases. And what eventually happened is we had to analyze them and then create a proposal for their either exoneration or for them to stay in, depending on the case. Some students found holes in the cases that attorneys had missed and found that, you know what, maybe this person didn't do it because they weren't even there. Or some people were like, maybe they did do it. And so once we all looked through our cases and we came to our conclusions after meeting with attorneys, looking through legal cases, going through evidence, reading appeals, reading the opening briefs from the appellants, and all these different things. We presented these proposals and analysis, and we presented them to a panel of attorneys, and they critiqued our proposals of either innocence or guilt, and they just assessed us as if we were actually presenting in front of a panel of like judges or a jury, and to kind of advocate for our clients. And so obviously there are like several people in the United States that are convicted or in prisons of crimes that they didn't commit, and the system is really backed up and isn't really capable of like effectively reconsidering all cases. And there's a lot of people who are just serving time that they didn't deserve to serve. And so High Tech High and our students and our teachers took the time to step in, and we tried to support this real issue. I know a lot of students after this project have become advocates. They've done volunteer work and other things to continue working in the social justice realm of things. And obviously solving this problem saves lives and it restores justice in our government's flawed justice system. And it will not only affect the individuals that we were helping, but their families and, like I said earlier, their communities. And it'll honestly help the integrity of our country's just like legal system. And it benefited our students because these cases that we were uncovering, we were given the chance to kind of really hold our system accountable and work towards like learning things from our own. Is something that learning the laws and how things work we need as adults. So we're learning how to kind of stand up for ourselves and look into the bigger picture and read the fine prints of things so that we as students, when we go into the real world, can advocate for ourselves, can advocate for others, whether that be on a legal scale or on a smaller scale. No matter what that be, we can take the skills that we learned from this and apply them anywhere else. And yeah, obviously, sorry, excuse me. When us students get involved in projects like this, it benefits us because we gain the real world experience. We get to talk to these professionals. We get to explore different things that most students don't get to explore. I don't think there's very many high school students that can say they were a part of a real, open, active, live case. And we get to practice our critical thinking skills and get to make a meaningful change and impact in our community and other people's lives. And we're practicing skills that we're going to use for the rest of our lives. And so I think that my biggest takeaway from this presentation is that us students, these types of projects, this type of project-based learning helps us get involved, not only involved in our community, but it very much is just a introduction to the real world and helps us get this hands-on experience so that we can really figure out not only what we want to do, but we find our voices and get to advocate for things on a much bigger scale and really make a big impact on our community. So yeah, thank you again so much for listening to this presentation and for having me and allowing me to talk to you guys about this project that really made a big difference and really made my junior year special. So yeah, thank you.
Alexa, but before we move on, Helen and I, we wanted to model a little bit of kind of just some questions that we might ask of the participants this evening. And so first, what we'll say is thank you so much for sharing that project experience with us. I was able to watch you go through the Innocence Project, and I was really blown away that high school students were working with actually incarcerated individuals to determine the degree to which they might be innocent or the degree to which you might suggest that they remain incarcerated. And it was a really impressive project. I guess a question I have for you is, and Helen might have a couple as well. What do you feel like you've taken from that project that then you've been able to bring forward with you in your learning?
Something that was really huge to me was the intimidation of kind of presenting my work to these people they are real attorneys, and I'm doing something I've never done any of this before, but being able to kind of get this, we kind of just got given a packet of things and then got told to like analyze it and just make something of it. And kind of, we really had to use our critical thinking where we were kind of pulling from different sources. And I think that helped me a lot, where not only was I collaborating with my group members, but we were all able to do our own research and pull from different sources and then come together again. I think the collaboration part of this project was super huge for me because it's skills that I take, to this day, in anything that I do now that has to do with collaboration, I will 100% go and find all my own sources and then come back and evaluate with my group. Like, it's the skill of being able to take from a bunch of sources and put it all together was super helpful, not only in school, but when it came to doing research for outside of school or anything like that. The collaboration of being able to get information from multiple sources and put it together was huge. And then public speaking, that was talking to a panel of attorneys about like conclusion that I came to after only like 4 months of kind of looking through a case and then being like, oh, hey, like I think this is what's going on. So being able to work with professionals and presenting my work to them was huge, because obviously it's really nerve-wracking, but the skill of being able to collaborate with someone who is a professional in their field when you're not was really big, and it was intimidating, but I feel now I'm more comfortable like doing this public speaking stuff and kind of speaking to people and inserting myself in places that may make me uncomfortable, but also knowing that like I too can, you know, be at a place where I can collaborate with professionals was really meaningful.
That's awesome to hear, Alexa. I really loved hearing how you were able to take the skills that you learned in the project and apply them to not just like your current life, but like your future, basically, because you've now gained this confidence in speaking about things that you're maybe not unfamiliar with and placing yourself in settings that are unfamiliar, but now you've grown and developed this comfort with discomfort almost. One wondering that I have about the project and its impact beyond yourself is I'm wondering if it's changed your views at all about how things are in society, about the root causes of wrongful convictions, and how will you take that information and bring it out to the bigger world around you?
Yeah, well, obviously, wrongful conviction is a big problem that we have here in the US and the flawed justice system that we have. That honestly, it opened my eyes because I always knew on a surface level that it was bad. You always hear about it in the news or stuff like that. But once I actually got to do hands-on work and I got to read through laws and I got to see the loopholes in our system and the gaps, that kind of things that don't add up, I kind of just realized that it's I can advocate for others, obviously, but it opened my eyes to we can kind of all make a difference, and it's one of those things where it's kind of just like it's opened my eyes on a wider scale that now I want to just be really active in the community. And I think that's the same for a lot of my other classmates.
Wonderful. That's really great to hear that it impacted you beyond just your own academics and classroom. I love that. Thank you for sharing, Alexa.
Of course, thank you.
Alexa, I know that you were able to join us for this project presentation and to be part of the opening of tonight's evening, but I know that you have to go directly from this to practice. And so I just want to thank you for sharing your time with us and sharing your learning experiences with us and sharing your brilliance and sharing your voice with us. We're really inspired by you, and thank you for being here tonight, Alexa.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Alexa from High Tech High, for such a thoughtful and inspiring presentation. Let's take a group photo on screen before moving on. Up next, we are honored to introduce Mr. Shelton Chan, Managing Director of Development for Asia Pacific at Georgia Tech.
Mr. Chan brings a wealth of experience in both innovation and entrepreneurship. And today he will speak on the project manager model for the next generation.
Hey, good morning, all. Am I okay to use English? Yes. Okay. Great. So we have more participants online or just myself, or just the audience here? 还有线上的人吗? Oh, really? Okay. Good. All right. So let me see if I can do this. Okay. Well, thank you. It's so wonderful to be here with you all in this wonderful morning, even though it's raining. So my name is Shelton Chan. I am the managing director for Georgia Tech Asia. I'm also a proud alma mater here from Jinxing. I graduated years ago, as you can tell. So I'm sharing a wonderful topic on the next generation project management. And you see an interesting combination between innovation and entrepreneurship. Because one thing I would like to share. Well, first of all, have you heard of my school, Georgia Tech? Yes? Raise a hand quick. Okay. So maybe a half. So Georgia Tech now is ranked one of the top 4 engineering school, public engineering school in the U.S. And we actually get a amazing ranking recently, being the top school that produced the most of AI talents. Okay, so, and another thing that I want to emphasize is that our school is, if you are looking to attend our school, one of the requirements by 2030 is that not only when you graduated, you require good grades, but you also need to start a company. Yes, you hear me correctly. So in the future, okay, your job is going to get even tougher. You need to start a company before you graduated. So I want to share experiences that from the university, one of the top engineering school in the world, how we look at the next generation of project management. How does this relate to innovation, entrepreneurship? Okay, so well, thank you for giving me this opportunity. So yeah, so my background, I am not a educator per se. So I spent the first 20 years of my career mostly in industry. So my specialty is actually in industrial engineering and focus on supply chain management and logistics. So supply chain management now becoming a hot word. Okay, so going in, before April 2nd, nobody really knows, what going in is. But after that, thanks to Trump has been helping promote this book. And well, I wrote this book about the evolution of supply chain management. It was published last week. So thanks to Trump, the book has been selling really well. Yeah. and later, the next decade, the 10 years, I've been involving with education. And a lot of people ask me why I made this such a switch from industry to education. It is because that the more I learn about education, the more I realize how important it is. Okay, so I have huge respect for the educators worldwide. So especially here in Jinxing. So I know that our faculty members, our teachers work super hard to make sure that all the students here, that you'll not only learn, but to thrive and also prepare you for the future to come. Okay, so I don't want to bore you with my past 30 years of experiences. Why is project management important? Okay, so I thought, if you ask me, in the last 30 years of my career, what is the one single most important money-making skill set that I feel it's absolutely worth it for me? I would say project management. Project management as a skill set, which I was very fortunate enough when I was working with the previous company, a company called Excel Supply Chain, which is based out in UK. I was selected as every country they select what's called a young leader, the future CEO, young leader, and which gets sent to Singapore to conduct a year-long of training. So they select somebody from India, from Pakistan every year, and from America, and everybody get together in Singapore, which we work with NUS, the National University of Singapore, to conduct this series of, what's called to be the groom to be the next CEO. And during that time, the best course I took was project management. And matter of fact, not only that it is the best course I took, but I have able to apply later in my life numerous times in making millions and millions of dollars based on that. So if you want to make money, if you think this is the future, even though the AI age is coming, I think project management skill set is going to be even more essential, because in the future, you'll be working with robots, with AI, with machines, with humans, with aliens, and with all sort of national. I'm not joking, by the way. You know that. The project management become an essential key steps to do this, and most importantly, because it requires collaboration mindset. It requires a skill set for you to communicate. It requires to turn ideas into writing, then into action. So I think project management, without further ado, it's important. So what are some of the challenges? Because one of the things that we address today is SDGs. I am going to share a very interesting real example how we have combined SDGs, project management, innovations, and entrepreneurship, and make it impactful from our school standpoint. I will share that later on as an example. But the challenges is that I think SDGs now is not a global issue, but a local issues as well. In Taiwan, what's the most serious issue right now? Anybody can take a guess? Okay, 不是罢免. Yeah, okay. I mean, that too, obviously, okay. But it's a lack of electricity, right? As we continue to boost up, building manufacture plants for our chips, our industrial computer like Aventech, we have to require more power, right, to make all these things happen. Otherwise, 唯一能做到就是 everybody 轮流停电。Okay, so imagine in the future, 静心早上来9点钟的时候就说 ，Okay, guys, next 3 hours we're going to be studying dark. We can turn on light again after that because TSMC has to use it. I'm not joking, by the way. This is going to come in very true starting from next year if we don't resolve our electricity issues. So we in Georgia Tech, I consult. We have what's called the 4C model. So that's clarity, collaboration, cycle, and communication. So I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I want to emphasize the word collaboration. I think I cannot emphasize more. I think out of the 4Cs, if you ask me, Mr. Chen, what's the one word that you want to take away? And you think that's important. I say collaboration. It's probably the hardest skill to learn, but yet the most impactful way to apply. So let's look at how we apply collaboration in later examples. So some of the tools I think people use for collaborations that I think is extremely helpful when it comes to the next generation of project management. I use Trello, so because I work with 12 countries. Okay, so for my role, I work with people from India, Japan, Singapore, Korea, Taiwan, US, and so forth, right? So I require, and I work on multiple projects at the same time. So I require a project tracking system that helps me to follow and track in the workflows. I constantly now use ChatGPT, okay? I literally every morning when I wake up, when the first question, I ask ChatGPT. I don't ask anybody else. And I've been training myself to have ChatGPT as my second brain. And now for those of you who have continued to use this, I like this because I don't necessarily seeking answers, but I am trying to use ChatGPT to inspire me to broaden my views and to challenge my thought process on this. So I think it's a wonderful tool. In fact, I remember that years ago when I was working as a CEO of the company, I used to have to spend millions of dollars to hire consultants and wait for 6 months. While right now, you guys are very lucky. You wait for 5 minutes and then you come up with all the suggested plan. Okay, and you spend maybe less than $15 per month for the highest subscription. Even though ChatGPT is getting more sneaky these days. They really, if you check, it used to be you throw questions and require inquiry, they will give you a response right away. ChatGPT is busy now. ChatGPT is busy, painting your cartoon pictures, turning your pictures into cartoons. You guys are wasting my time, seriously. And now ChatGPT will say that, hey, Mr. Chen, I'm not able to give you this report. Please give me 3 days. I say, no, you sound like my old employee. I cannot wait for 3 days. I need it yesterday. Okay, so ChatGPT is great canvas. It's for storytelling. It's great for pitching. So is PowerPoint. Of course, there's many examples, right? So students apply. We just heard the Innocent Project that the high-tech high student presented. Can you share what was the project about? Yeah, you? Yes. I'm joking. No, I'm just testing if you're sleeping. It's okay. Yeah. So I would like to share what Georgia Tech has done last year. I thought it was super interesting, and we brought to Asia. It was absolutely an enormous project, and it has to do with SDGs. It has to do with innovations. It has to do with entrepreneurship. We did what's called a Convergence Innovation Competition. Okay, and the idea was that it was Georgia Tech's oldest competition for entrepreneurship and innovations back in 2007. And the name itself sound old, okay? The reason why it's called Convergent Innovation is because back in 2005, people cannot even imagine on your cell phone you're able to consolidate image, videos, text, and everything under one platform. So there was a research movement to consolidate and converge things together. So that's where the competition came from. Obviously, 现在你们已经很习惯在一个平台上面看所有的事情，就是比如说你们看电视，你一下子 switch 到 iPad， 一下朋友的 iPhone， 一下 switch 到朋友的 iPhone， 你们觉得这个事情好像非常的习惯。各位，我们在10年前的时候，这个是魔术 ，OK magic，the way how you operate this，OK，but so it was back in 2007 for Georgia Tech. We've been working with the likes of Verizon, Google, Cisco, and Siemens, and aiming to understand, to come up with people-centered innovation in entrepreneurship projects by working with the students to come up with various cool ideas. Okay, so we decided last year to take this competition format to bring to Asia. Okay, so what happened was we invited, we reached out to 6 countries, and we identified 2 universities from each country. So we were able to work with 12 universities. I know that once you will participate in our final competition, and we selected for each university. They went out there market their student teams trying to compete for this conversions. We call it CIC Asia competition. The prize is actually pretty good. For the winner, for the participant, the top 4, I each given $1,000 cash. 我给了，因为我还记得，因为给出去是很痛。And the number 1 contender, I give them $5,000. Okay, plus everybody gets a round trip tickets to Atlanta, so you can present the project to the what's called the CreateX program, which I'll explain this to you about what this is about. But basically, you get to present your actual project and your future company to your future investors. So think of you sitting in front of Google CEO, AT&T CEO, Coca-Cola CEO, and you get to pitch. If they like the idea and they say, hey, Shelton, I'll give you $10 million for you as an additional startup fund. I want to be your shareholders. No joke. we're doing this for our students, okay? And the entire program really is being pioneered and started from a program initiative called CreateX. CreateX was funded about 15 years ago. It was actually funded by one of our dropout students. 一个叫什么辍学生 ，okay? So this 辍学生 ，right? But so 我不知道，如果唐校长，如果静心有辍学生，你应该不会让他回来，对不对？你没有辍学生啊 ？OK， 没有辍学生 ，OK。If you do, so think of like Mark Zuckerberg, right? He was he left at Harvard, right? Elon Musk didn't finish Stanford. And so we have this, I forgot his name, by the way, 辍学生. He went there, he became a hacker on the computer. And then, but he did so well, the IBM, actually Google decided to hire him. And, and actually he's forming the companies. Google decided to hire him so that he can work to prevent and attack the hackers to work on the other side. 有点像无间道一样，就是你本来是小偷，先变警察。And then the company did so well, IBM bought it. And he was still at the age of 28 years old, and I think he bought it for like $3 billion. 所以有一天 he walked into the school, right, and with his like shorts, and people thinking like he's just a student. He knocked on the dean of the school of engineering door and sit down, and he said that, hey, listen, thanks to Georgia Tech allowed me to drop out from the school, and I am now a billionaire. And wow, they said, oh, okay, they stand up, they give you, VIP treatment, When you have money, people give you VIP treatment, by the way, okay? And he decided to write a check and to give $100 million to the school as a donation. 1亿美金 to do what? He said that he would like to inspire more entrepreneurs through this program called CreateX. So the focus is to allow students to start companies in the school. Okay, and it's through 3 phases: learn, make, and launch. And basically, in the last decade, we have created 32,000 students involved, represent 38 majors. We created 6,000 companies, out of which 650 startups still survive. And there's a unicorn company that worth about $2.4 billion. So not bad for student startup. And so the idea is to replicate the CreateX program here in Asia, and by helping the students across 6 countries, and we are expanding this year, by the way, to allow them to experience this, so they can collaborate and forming projects with the students here in Georgia Tech in the United States. So, and guess what? When we decided to go global, so we're working with China, Malaysia, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam. We decided to do SDG. So why do we decided to throw an SDG? So we don't want to limit it, the theme, but we also want to broaden enough. SDG with 17 goals was broad enough for people to come up with all kind of creativity. Stop poverty, hungers, equality on education, and so forth. So we did that, and it was a university that we have then identified to work with. We came up with the 4 finalists. We flew them to Taiwan. So it was a great 外交, to publicize how great, amazing Taiwan is. Many of the students from Malaysia never been to Taiwan. So the student team came to Taiwan on December 9th. We started the competition from April 22nd virtually, and then we have a physical component on December 9th here in Taipei. So it's a hybrid model between. So it was quite challenging, interesting, but guess what? This is what the future entails. In the future, you'll work in a hybrid model, in the virtual model, etc. And then we, aside from the competition, because we want to draw industry leaders to come to see the students compete. so that we also put out technology forum along the side as well. So we have three themes. One is on the future innovation and entrepreneurship. The other one is on AI's and sustainability impact. Last but not least, what everybody really talks about and care about is talent, future talents and workforce development. So we have like companies like Microsoft. We have people from Japan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, really to give talks on various topics. It was very exciting. I hope you enjoy the event as well. So, we have industry leaders. I mean, basically, just based on this particular session, you have like people from 4 countries really sit down together for the first time to talk about the same topic. Okay, so it was really engaging. Students learned quite a bit. Of course, the first, I gave them $2,000 US. Okay, not 5. But I secretly given $3,000 cash to one of the person I like a lot. Yeah, so that's what I do. I give cash. Yeah, and the winning team actually is from a project team called Membrane Biosensor. I'm very proud. Actually, this particular team is coming from one of the university here in Taiwan. Okay, 原治大学. Have anybody heard of it? Yes. Okay. Brilliant private university, by the way. I'm very impressed with their work ethics. Membrane biosensor, in short, is they have invented an AI-based sensor so that you're able to detect based on detection your blood sugar, and various different numbers, within your physical detections, that you're able to understand where your situation is. Depends on various different type of disease. So it's actually in prototyping right now. They present this, and obviously it was very impressive. So we have judges from 6 different countries decided to award them with #1. Okay, and we have students and all the finalists. So you can tell it was amazing because we have countries from Vietnam, from Malaysia, from Taiwan, all get together and they all meet for the first time. And then this gives them a chance to learn and maybe also to forming future collaboration opportunities. So that's it. I hope that was an interesting example. Again, few of the keywords: project management, innovations, entrepreneurship, SDGs, CIC, and Georgia Tech. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton Chan, for your lecture.
We now continue with our ACT student presentations, beginning with our very own students from Chingxing Academy, Grade 9. Please join us in welcoming the Grade 9 team from Chingxing Academy.
Good morning, everyone. We are Hualien Taipei Youth Culture Connection. I'm Yu Qiu.
I'm Zhu Qiliu.
And I'm Tong Chen.
After the April 3rd, 2024 earthquake in Hualien, the region was seriously hit. We hope to harness the power of youth to serve schools and students in Hualien, contributing our efforts to post-disaster recovery. First, let me brief you on the serious April 3rd earthquake, which occurred in Hualien. In this disaster, over 1,000 people were injured or lost their lives. So far, more than 28.5 billion has been invested in relief efforts. We have aligned our project with 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals. This is our project timeline. We finished all our activities 3 days ago. We organized 4 activities in total.
Our first activity is to visit schools in Hualien that were affected by the April 3rd earthquake. On 2024, August 27, we went to visit the schools in Hualien and discuss the current situation with them. After we visited Hualien firsthand, we realized that the situation there was very different than what we originally thought. Before we went, we assumed that they would need physical renovation because of the news online. Later on, we realized that the equipment and structure there were already renovated and that the student safety at school is without a problem as well. Because of this new view, we quickly realized that we would have to make changes to our original plan. So, after further discussion with the principals and the chief, we figured out a way to redirect it, making it so that the goal of our project is to spread word about Hualien's unique culture to help induce their tourism.
This is our second activity, recruiting volunteers. This is our recruitment poster. We began recruiting volunteers on December 1st of last year. From January to February of this year, we invited Professor Chen-Ming Wang to conduct storyboarding, filming, and editing classes for us during the Lunar New Year holiday, weekends, and other free time outside of regular school hours. Then we went on a field trip to Hualien for filming on January 22nd. Our plan is to turn this footage into a documentary about Hualien so that more people can gain a deeper understanding of the area. It also serves as a preparation for our upcoming activities. This is a list of schools we're collaborating with. We collaborate with a school around Taiwan, including Taichung, Taipei, Yilan, and Hualien.
Our third activity is to film a video on Hualien's culture. This includes going to Hualien with a group of our friends to better experience and understand it. Take myself as example. When I was for the job, I was in charge of interviewing people. So in order to actually understand their cultures, my group and I personally interviewed the chief, the principal, and some of the students there. This allowed us to have the ability to directly communicate through our differences and to have them answer our questions about the things that we do not understand. For the video, other than the people that we're interviewing, parts of our group also directed their focus towards the sceneries of Hualien.
During the interview process, we invited local elders to name us traditionally. This naming tradition requires the elders to communicate with the heavens and the earth and to drink millet wine as a ritual to ward off evil spirits. For example, one of our students was named Banai in their language, which means millet. Later, they also guided us in making traditional items and serve us dishes unique to the tribe. On April 20th, 2025, we held the Hualien Taipei Youth Culture Connection Concert. This event brought together volunteers recruited since May 2024, as well as volunteers from various schools joined after August. The performance featured modern art forms such as music, dance, and drama. This time, more than 100 volunteers participated in the event for the first time. All ticket proceeds were donated to support the co-learning fund at Shilin Elementary School in Hualien.
For the performance, we practiced diligently every week. We held frequent in-school rehearsals, and since there is a far distance between us and the schools at Hualien, we also had to arrange online meetings in order to rehearse together, which is something that we have never done before. In addition to that, we also held in-person rehearsals before the final performance to ensure that everything would run smoothly. Just 3 days ago, on April 20th, our musical performance was officially finished. With over 100 students helping and supporting us along this journey, we end our project on a grateful and happy note.
Now, I'd like to present our conclusions and reflections. First, during our visits to various schools in Hualien, we learned that mutual respect among different cultures is essential. When cultures collide, new sparks of creativity emerge. Looking at our result, we can say that the outcome was successful. However, in the process, we experienced countless failures and rejections. Yet we continue to grow through each setback. Communication is key in every activity. Along the way, we faced misunderstandings from differing perspectives and culture. But we learned to understand each other, enhancing our coordination skills. At the start of our volunteer recruitment, we only reached out to our own classmates and friends. Later, thanks to the promotion by our volunteer partners, more and more students joined in. By fostering a spirit of caring and unity, we were able to expand our team's influence even further. Finally, looking ahead, we hope to extend all our classmates' effort beyond the campus. We wish that our love and courage for the world will inspire every future student who shares our dreams. Thanks for your listening.
Thank you so much for sharing. It was really great to hear. I think we might need the mic turned off on Niolaus's computer. Can everyone hear me okay?
Please go ahead and ask the students questions and give feedback.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
There is a bit of feedback coming from Niolaus's computer. If we could turn the mic off for that, that would be great. It's the blue one. For the sake of time, we can start asking the clarifying questions. I had a question about who besides you guys went to visit Hualien?
Like other than us, just like we recruit some volunteers, like just like we said in the PowerPoint, just like we recruited like volunteers from December 1st of last year, and like we have some editing the classes of like filming and like filming classes, and we went to Hualien with the volunteers to like to have the video, to record the videos of like their culture, and also
Except us, we find some volunteers from our classmates and even from different grades, some people elder than us, or some students from 8th grade. We find some volunteers that have the same thinking, same thought as us. We want to help the Hualien indigenous to help them like rebuild their places or to spare their culture. We find volunteers that have the same thought as us, and we go to Hualien together.
Student volunteers.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
I had a couple questions. Before I ask the question, though, I also want to just celebrate your project. I felt that it was very authentic. And I think something that I would want to celebrate is that you were able to take your project outside of your school and visit and connect with other communities and other stakeholders. I felt like it showed really strong community partnerships from the experiences. And I also felt that the learning experiences themselves seem very authentic in that many of the students and the student volunteers that were participating, I think probably had very different things that they took away from each of those experiences. My question is that you had mentioned that you experienced, as you will within projects, moments where you felt like you stumbled or moments where you felt like you failed. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. What were some of those challenges?
actually just like we held the Hualien Taipei youth cultural connection concert. And like during the concert, like we invited many schools to collaborate with us. But just like I remember the last week of the concert, just one of the school we're collaborating with in Hualien, in Yilan, just like because like they're preparing an orchestra to come into the concert and perform. But because of the time, because like they have a problem with their time and also with like our concert timeline. So actually just like we're actually the week before the concert, we're actually just like we're having a conversation about it, and that's just like they cannot come to our concert, and it's actually just like a big problem just because so it's a blank of the timeline. So we are just like we actually need to fix this problem for.
Other than that, even before the concert is actually held, like when we first visited Hualien at 2024, we visited 10 schools in total, but only like around 3 is willing to collaborate with us. And challenges like that really do affect how our project goes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your interview process with the indigenous cultures?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm part of the group who interviewed the many people. So we have 2 people, and one of us filmed while the other one asked questions. Something that really feels different about their interview and our city life is one of the answers that the chief gave us, which is that he really liked how in Hualien, because they're really tribal. So they kind of all know each other, and it's really like local. So whenever, say, a kid was walking to school, sees an elder, they would like, oh, say good morning or good afternoon, and they find that really like the community to be really comfortable with them. But when they actually visited Taipei and everything, they realized that it's kind of colder here, and I feel like those part of the interview actually make me feel like there's a bigger difference between Hualien and Taipei than we thought.
Thank you for sharing.
Helen, do you have any more clarifying or probing questions before we head to a discussion and feedback?
I do. It does also go with the question I asked earlier. I asked about who did you have come with you to Hualien, and you said you guys got volunteers to come from your school. I was wondering, because it's a volunteer-based opportunity, were there costs associated? Did students maybe get like a scholarship to travel with you if they couldn't afford to go with you? And if you could talk about that piece a little bit more, who gets to go on this exchange program?
They didn't have like any additional costs that they have to bring. It's because in our earlier presentation, we already had like one task to get through, and if you got through that, you have a certain amount of sponsor, like the money that they'll give you in order for this project, and we use that to buy train tickets for everybody to go there. And we also had additional sponsors outside of Changxing, which help us also bring the kids from Shuilian Elementary, which is in Hualien, to bring them back to perform with us.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great. That was my main question, was just who is part of this exchange program. Thank you. I'm ready to move on to just discussion and feedback.
Okay, great. So we have 4 minutes for you and I to discuss what we've heard in terms of the project, and then any type of feedback that we've heard, Helen, or that we can come up with as well. Something that I thought was really interesting about the project is that they almost immediately experienced a pivot within the project. So it's like this project starts with an idea of, recognizing a community that had been through a pretty significant like natural disaster, and that the project kind of was oriented towards, helping with recovery efforts. but then they get over there to realize that almost all parts of him. I would love almost to hear more about like what would those plans have looked like, or that project to help kind of like a recovery. What would those efforts look like, or would they have looked like? But it was interesting, and I would celebrate that they were able to kind of pivot and say like, this isn't where we're needed. This type of work wouldn't be helpful, and so that they started to ask like, what would be helpful to this community. And kind of came up with these ideas of bringing in tourism and to identify an authentic problem. I thought was really, really incredible.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that, because one of my concerns when I hear about tourism and trying to increase tourism in other cities is it almost is associated with SDG number 13, like climate, and how can we ensure that the tourism is not doing any harm to Hualien's natural environment. And so, when I was thinking about this project, I was curious about how are they uplifting Hualien's story, and not just like we're coming in as outsiders and we get to see the city and we're going to do something for the city, but instead they're doing something with the city. And so I really want to say that that is really something I appreciate about this project. They really took into account their community and the other community. So I thought that was really great. Another piece I really wanted to highlight is, although that felt like a failure, one of the last reflections they had was that there was a lot of growth because they experienced that. And so the way it was phrased when our students presented it just now is that even though there was failure and rejection, we had growth. But I would challenge you to think, because of failure and rejection, we had growth. Growth cannot truly happen without failure and rejection. So I think that is a mindset that I want you guys to keep living in your young lives.
I thought a little bit in hearing from them. I thought a little bit about their learning experiences, and the learning experiences seemed like they were undeniable. It seemed like there was a lot of learning kind of oriented towards learning about the cultures, and then also just kind of communication, cross-community communication, and filming and editing. I wonder what some of the like targeted learning goals were with the planning of this project. Like, what were the learning outcomes as part of the project design? And would have wanted to hear a little bit more of that from the panel as well.
Yeah.
Did any stand out to you?
I do. I in my mind, I imagined it was around culture and history and learning about their country, Taiwan, like as a whole. And that's in my mind what I just assumed. But yeah, clarity around that would be great. I think another piece that I was curious to hear about was the film, and it sounded like they had some good publicity. I am wondering, how can they push the film further out beyond the schools that they work with, but maybe in the community, maybe a local news station could help get the word out and build that publicity for this exchange program, and eventually have something bigger beyond just the two schools that are involved, or the few schools that are involved.
I think the final point, or the final point that I would make that stands out to me is one that you touched on, Helen, this idea of tourism and the perceptions around tourism. Oftentimes with tourism, visitors will visit a place, but it's really not to kind of engage with that community or benefit from that community. It's almost to take from that community. And so to consider with this project design, how might that be part of the project design in itself, that you can incentivize tourism and visitation, but in a way that actually develops a better understanding of where it is that you're visiting, and so much so that your presence and your participation benefits that community in ways that benefit them. Oftentimes we'll go visit a place as tourists and we'll bring things that aren't really relevant to that community or don't necessarily help, other than just kind of spending our money. But what would it look like to learn so much about a community that by going there and visiting, when you engaged with that community, when you participated there, you were able to kind of improve by your visit, but also yourself kind of have a meaningful and impactful visit.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's important when we are tourists, especially ecotourism, and looking for the beauty, the natural beauty of things. Like, how do we build with that community instead of just like use them to have an appreciation for ourselves? Like, how can we be in support with them?
It's incredible to have the first project that we heard tonight be getting out of their own school, traveling to an entire other community. It was really an adventurous project to hear.
Okay, thank you again to our grade 9 team and the feedback from Mr. Santos and Ms. Xiao. Let's take a group photo on stage, so please remain on stage for a group photo.
Did we also want to give them a chance to synthesize and respond?
Okay, thank you. Next, we welcome the grade 11 students from Xinxing Academy to present their ACT project.
Their work is titled Handcrafted Rag, Building the Xinxing AI Chatbot, a fascinating project combining technology, creativity, and problem-solving skills.
Let's give them a big round of applause as we invite the grade 11 team to the stage.
Before we start, I will share an experience from a parent using a school website. Picture a parent at 10 p.m. trying to find a school trip permission field, trying to find the daylight of the school field trip permission slip on a Clotter website. After clicking through multiple pages and getting nowhere, they realize that the sign-up window is closed at midnight and they're about to miss it. Hello everyone, we're a team from Xinxing Academy, and today our topic is Handcraft RIG, creating a Xinxing AI chatbot. I'm Chen Yiling.
I'm Raymond Chen.
I'm Harry Chen.
I'm Tina Zhen.
So the first is our ROI. First of all, it's a challenge we have made. We realize that many people, whether parents, students, or the general public, have many problems about the school, but the common response are not efficient. The school website faces the same problem. As a large amount of the data stored on a website, no matter how well it's organized, it's still really complex. And users often call to ask questions instead of searching the site. However, for the school staff, this will interpret the work they're focusing on and consume some unnecessary time. For the user, because it's not open for a whole day, so they cannot gather information immediately and sometimes get a poor experience. For the school management, they have to incur additional labor costs to respond to these inquiries.
Problem 2. Traditional chatbots struggle to handle more complex queries. Traditional chatbot uses keyword extraction, and it makes it difficult for them to respond to more conversational questions. Additionally, training and fine-tuning current chatbots can be costly and time-consuming, making they are also prone to hallucination, which means that the model can be easily tricked into giving inaccurate answers or inappropriate answers. And that's why we aim to create a reliable, user-friendly, and 24/7 school information assistant.
The following is the system architecture. We aim to achieve 3 goals. The first, reliable response. Because the use of RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, the systems are no longer unfamiliar with the school. With the data we provide, it can now give us accurate response. The second one, we focus on natural language process capability. Because traditional chatbot rely heavily on keyword, with the new AI system, it can now deal with more complex and conversational language, much like how we speak in daily life. The third one, we want to design a user-friendly interface so that those who are not unfamiliar with the technology can use our website easily. The following is the architecture, which is divided into 4 parts. The first, website. The user can type their question on their website. And it will send it to the server, and the server will send it to the search engine, and the data to go to database to find the matching file and send it to the AI system. And the AI will finally give the answer and finally return to the user.
The first section we want to sort of dive into deep is the front-end website. The front-end website is the entry point for users to interact with. We provide a drop-down menu for users to select predefined commonly asked questions. And after a request is sent, it then gets sent to the second module, the Fast API module.
We use Fast API as our backend framework. You can consider Fast API as our brain of our project, combining all the projects.
After Fast API module processes the request, it then gets sent to the search engine, which is like the sort of hand of retrieval for context. So we use 2 different methods, each complementing each other for optimal search performance. So we have lexical search, which is the traditional keyword search, and the vector search, which is the more advanced natural language process empowered search method. And the search engine directly searches documents from the database. And so the database, we use a SQLite database, and we store these requests and documents from school documents like code of conducts or dress codes to help the LLM understand the context and provide more factual responses.
And this is our advantage, goals, and model demo.
Our solution reaches 2 SDGs goals. First, number 4, equality education. We ensure equal access to information, reduce the burden on administrative staff and teachers so that they can focus on the essence of education, and help promote the widespread of technology in education. And second, goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. By increasing the efficiency of public services and reducing the use of paper and communication delays, we help make cities more sustainable. And beyond schools, our solution is highly adaptable. For example, by replacing our document to those from a hospital or a police station, we can quickly set up a similar online
Hundreds of the question to test our model, and as a result, we can see the performance is really good. So as you can see on this table, in every point we got a really high standard. And this is our current progress. Now we're ready to set up the model on the school website, but now we're currently adjusting it so we can make the model auto-update the latest contents on the school website. And the final is our demo part.
So to conclude this presentation, I'll actually deploy a preview build on this laptop to demonstrate the capabilities of this system. On the left, we have the terminal, which is the backend. So we have a predefined questions from the drop-down menu. And for today's speech, we'll actually request the AI to respond completely in English to first introduce Qingxing in a very simpler manner. So as you can see, the response is insanely quick, and even in quite network constrained environments. So we can actually try another one, which is asking the dress code for students. This is a common question asked by parents because it is often hidden within and buried within the code of conduct. So parents often don't have the time or effort to spend that much time on finding these answers. So we can also try sort of to see the resource that Qingqing provides for technologies. And just like the previous speakers have mentioned, this is highly adaptive. So this concludes the speech and the presentation, as well as the capabilities of this AI chatbot.
Wow. Thank you for providing that little snippet of what your AI could do for us. John, do we want to start with some clarifying and probing questions, or should we start with some warm feedback?
Oh, you're twisting things up on me, huh?
I know.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to highlight how this ties so well with what Mr. Chan spoke about, this innovation and needing to use the tools that we have today in service of the needs that we had yesterday. I wish we had something like this for high tech. This is a very, very thoughtfully a very thoughtful project idea that you guys are implementing.
What comes to mind for me is that if we wait in schools to take what's happening outside in the real world and adapt that into an educational lesson or into an educational design, by the time we're actually learning about it in the classroom, that thing itself doesn't hold the same relevance and nowness. And so that these students took this, ran with it, applied it immediately, I found to be very inspiring. I would love to hear more about the test model and how you ran this testing, and what was the scope of audience that you used to run tests for your, you mentioned that you've been running tests and test models. Where are you at with the testing process?
So for the test, we actually run a couple of models, just as the previous keynote slide. We have like a sort of batch of sample questions that users commonly ask, and then we just prompt these questions to AI services, such as normal chatbots, like line chatbots, which have keyword searches. But we also prompt these searches to conventional RAG-like services like Perplexity, and we evaluate the search quality and also the response quality to see the quality of generation. And based on this, we provided the sort of spec sheet that we have in the keynote. And from the result, we can actually see our database and our service is extremely much more customized and dedicated to serving Qingxing as a chatbot compared to other more general services that we don't have actual control and fine-grained optimizations to use on these services.
I have a follow-up question around that, which is maybe this is not a follow-up question, maybe it's a separate question. But what then have you? I maybe missed this as well. I know you mentioned that you addressed some of the concerns with AI, specifically around AI hallucinations. So I'm curious to hear how you address or are addressing that still, maybe, and what happens when the AI cannot find the information or does not know.
Because we use OpenAI API, so we will, if there is no document found in our database, so because we have told OpenAI API that he's a chatbot, so it will just respond there is no answer.
Okay.
Just to follow up with the previously mentioned speaker, the reason why there is hallucination within AI models is there's a lack of context. So if we ask a general chatbot what is Qingxing, without context about what Qingxing is, these chatbots will make up things to answer and satisfy these answers, providing sort of surface level correct answers that are actually not factual. So the core concept is fixed with retrieval augmented generation, which provides additional context through these retrieval systems that adds as sort of additional context to help empower factual answers. So we will have these responses sort of embedded into the prompts, so these chatbots actually see the context. And in cases where the retrieval system actually fails, even in such cases, the LLM, these chatbots will still opt for sort of more conservative answers, saying that there is no relevant context provided in the top prompt. So in any case, even in the worst case scenario, we will still have factual data that are not sort of made up or hallucinated.
I'd be interested to hear from you in terms of your partners or mentors or collaborators within this project. It seems like the project is very entrepreneurial. And a lot of times within an entrepreneurial type experience, instead of opening that up to collaborators and partners and mentors, it's actually something that we kind of keep to ourselves, a small team, because we're creating something that itself can be, monetized, or, we could create a product from that. Who have you worked with as collaborators and partners within this project?
So the initial project started off because we realized the problem, but we also realized the expense of setting up the service. Setting up the service often requires tens of thousands of dollars in terms of just setting up with a professional team. So initially, we have a mentor from the seniors that graduated, which is Andrew Gould, and he provided a lot of advice on the sort of technologies to be used for this full stack development, which is from front end to back end. This is our first time and like early examples and experience involved in such large scale development. So with the help of mentors providing initial startup advices and sort of explanations, empowered us greatly and also helped us to boost the productivity at the start. And the later phases of development is all based on us. We just develop functions and push the development further following our schedules.
Are you using AI to help you write your programming? Is it AI assisted programming, or are you guys doing this all in-house and writing your own programming?
We do use AI for writing these codes, but we also find sort of weaknesses in nowadays AI chatbots that they often lose context of the general large scale and the vision of these projects. So as much as it's great to have AI to write initial code or frameworks, AI become less usable after certain development phase, because we find that it doesn't have sort of fine-grained knowledge of the actual development project. So we often hallucinate more and just over-engineer fixes that could be fixed in like a few lines.
I have one more clarifying question, which is, you had mentioned in your presentation that the user inputs are being stored. Are there any concerns around privacy and user information that's going to be stored? Is there any privacy concerns around that? Like if a parent submits something like my child is, diabetic or something, and now that information is out there, is that being stored? Are there any privacy concerns?
So we are well aware of the privacy concerns related to storing users' requests. So the way we handle this is because currently the build is still in development, so this is more of a closed testing version. For the actual deployment, we will not store user data because of the privacy that we value. So for internal purposes, we have to sort of have a brief glimpse at the quality and the demands. So this will be more of an internal build. And we also clarify this if we were to test these with closed source and internal testing. So we will mention these terms to the testers to help them understand what they're working with and respect their privacy.
Thank you for sharing.
Helen, do you feel like you're ready to pivot into discussion and feedback, or?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. I think,
Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, John.
I mean, I spoke to this earlier, but I mean, I'm just blown away by the immediacy of the learning and the project design is that they took something that's happening. And again, I think when you take too long to try to convert this into something that then happens within the educational context, it ends up not being as impactful and kind of immediately applied. I love how kind of adventurous they've been with this work, and how they've have dove right into it. They did a great job explaining it, so much so that I understood it, even though this is definitely not something that I'm familiar with. I wonder about the legacy of this learning. Like, who else gets to participate in this, and how does it get handed off? And so they had a senior student that they knew they could come to, who was a resource for them, who's like, I can guide you in the process. And then they had their own experience with it within this, and they're using AI to help them write code to create a chatbot for Qingshin. But then, like, how does this get handed off to the next group of students? Where does this go? Or does it stay within this project group and it just becomes a small business they're developing? Like, at what point does this become a business that you develop during a project? Or does it become a project type of learning that can get handed off for others to experience?
That's a great question. Again, so in line with what Mr. Chan was speaking about. I, as I mentioned earlier, I do really think this is a very valuable tool. And I think when that official launch happens, I'm curious about how that's going to look and how effective that rollout is. I think it's going to be really important to make sure that adults know about this resource. It is, like I said, I think this is a great idea. The reasons that they have mentioned, especially around, the school staff having to experience these constant disruptions, is actually a very valid reason and very important why a rollout for this launch, I think, needs to be well publicized. I think it it has the potential to really minimize a lot of those disruptions that educators face. Just those little tiny things that kind of, oh, we have to get back to that parent's email, or that parent texted me about when is the field trip, So I'm hoping the rollout will be big and beautiful, and that people will really use this.
And that could be a significant next part of this project, is like, what does it look like to have that rollout? There's the social aspects of this and the communication with community. There's how do we, how do we advertise this? How do we bring this to our parent community? How do we respond to concerns? How do we predict concerns? How do we provide this type of information? And so that might be an interesting part of the project, is how would you involve other groups of students, and what types of roles would they take on beyond, constructing the Qingshin AI bot? But like, how could you involve other groups of students in rolling this out? I thought that there was a really clear connection between the SDGs, the number 4, equality and education. And I love it. I mean, very strong with sustainable cities and communities. Building this out as an infrastructure of a school, like we could definitely use that. What I would want to tell this panel of students is that we have 2 humans here at our school essentially handling what it is that you've designed. So that frees up 2 entire humans at our school if we had something like this. And also, we're not just one school, we're a network of 16. And so if we could have something like this that was kind of central for all of our schools, I mean, if you took 16 people, that's 32 humans that this could free up.
Yeah, and to go to John's point of expanding your project into something with multiple teams, then that's also where you will really get to experience those project management skills that you will really need to develop in running something successful, right? Like you have a advertising team or a rollout team or the community facing team, which might be the team that takes the feedback from the users. Then you have your programmers who are actually developing the code and addressing some of the just tech side of it. So I think this is this project has a great potential to become bigger and to give you those project management and collaboration skills.
Yeah, as you mentioned that, I'm looking at like learning goals, and I'm thinking like, how might you take this project and the work that has happened and the work that could happen and kind of break that into kind of these categories of learning opportunities. And I see like opportunities, obviously, to learn more about technology, entrepreneurship, communication, and community outreach, and then project management as well. Do any else come to mind for you?
No, I do also want to provide some time for students to synthesize and respond
Yeah.
at the end, which I know we didn't get time to do for the first group. And I think we should have time for
Yeah,
this.
we could turn it over to them if they want a chance to. There's 3 minutes for synthesis and response.
So we're hoping to just have you share what you've heard from the feedback and how might you move this project forward.
Thank you for the wonderful insights. So for the future plans, we will definitely continue to deploy and develop this system. And we will also probably migrate this project to further junior students and developers to not only help them learn about maybe project management, but also help them learn about these developments. And we will definitely step into the zone for deploying and finding necessary talents for such work and find learning skills about management and leadership.
Great work. Congratulations, everybody.
As a glimpse into the future of AI-assisted possibilities. We now, sorry. Let's take a group photo on stage together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now take a short break to refresh and enjoy some tea and snacks outside the auditorium.
Please feel free to stretch, recharge, and connect with other participants. We'll reconvene promptly at 10:55 to continue with our ACT student presentations, with moderation by Mr. Santos and Ms. Shao.
can we, students from India? Students from India, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Can you say something? We just want to test the volume is okay from your end. 那个在场的同学，我们先谢谢，我们稍微测试一下，谢谢。Yes.
Good morning.
Okay, one more time. Thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you. And you can hear me fine, right? Okay, so students from India, Pallavi, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, Pallavi.
Oh, okay. So can you look at the text message box in the Google Meet link? Because we need you to do your background again. Right now it's the opposite side. It's mirror image. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So can you look at the message box?
Yes. We've got the message.
Yeah, we can get the link.
Okay, so in the line, in the message box of the Google Meet link, can you check
Yes.
it for now? Okay, so in the
Yes.
message box, you can see a link. The link
Yes.
is another image for your background. Because right now it's the
Okay.
opposite side, it's a mirror image. So you need to download that and then do your background again. Does that make sense?
I got that. Yes, I got that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
Just
very
give me a
much.
moment. Just give me a moment. Could you now please confirm? Is it fine now? Just check, ma'am. Is it fine now? Hello?
学生吧，这个人要 vice principal 吗？不是，我现在只是要确定有没有要介绍 vice principal。他是 vice principal。不好意思，不好意思，确认一下，可不可以请 Jason？好，Jason。
Hello, could we confirm? Is it proper now?
It is still the other way. Still opposite. The background is still opposite.
It's still opposite. Okay, we'll check it again. Just give us a minute.
Hello.
Is it fine now?
Yes, it's fine now. Thank you.
Okay, yes. Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a relaxing break. We're excited to resume the ACT presentations. For our next presentation, we're pleased to welcome Putai Senior High School from Nantou, Taiwan. Their project is titled Heat Alert.
Okay.
can you all see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll just begin. Okay. So hello everyone. We are the UHI pioneers from Putai Senior High School. And today we are here to talk about bring hope and resilience to the unsung heroes of our cities. So I want to imagine it's an extremely hot day, the kind where the blistering heat makes you crave an ice cold bubble tea. Without hesitation, you grab your phone and open Uber Eats. And 15 minutes later, your drink arrives, still perfectly chill, the first sip, pure satisfaction, a small moment of happiness in your day. But have you ever stopped to think about how it got you in the scorching heat? And that's right, it's thanks to him. Let's just call him Alex. You probably won't remember his name, but today he just saved your day. But while Alex just made your day better, who is thinking about the struggles he's facing in this relentless heat? And he's not alone. In 2024, there were over 140,000 delivery workers, and nearly half of whom work more than 12 hours a day. According to our survey, 90% of people agree that delivery workers' harsh working conditions are often overlooked, making them one of the most vulnerable groups in society. And one of the biggest challenges these workers face is the urban heat island effect, a phenomenon where densely built up area becomes significantly hotter than surrounding suburbs, almost like a heat-emitting island. And the main causes: overcrowded buildings, heat-trapping materials, and loss of green spaces.
But climate change is making it worse. Over the past 30 years, temperatures have risen at twice the rate of the past century. Summers are getting longer, winters are shrinking, and extreme heat zones are expanding in cities like Taipei, Taichung, and Tainan. Here's a shocking fact. Medical visits due to heat-related illness have been rising consistently. We've all felt that discomfort, waiting at a traffic light, sweating, wishing to find some shade. But unlike delivery workers, we don't endure hours of exposure, and we're not the one wearing a hot, stuffy helmet. That's why we create the Heat Alert System, a project designed to improve the working conditions in the food delivery industry and achieve temperature justice.
To tackle this issue, we've developed the Heat Alert System, hoping to improve conditions for the delivery industry and promote temperature justice. The system has three main features: primitive health data tracking and danger alert, core route planning and recommendations, and a helmet sensor. We'll explain each of these in detail shortly. Our system creates a customized health profile for each worker, taking into account age, height, weight, BMI, chronic conditions, and medication history, all factors that affect heat tolerance. Using this data, the system provides real-time notifications, reminding workers when to hydrate or take a break to prevent heat exhaustion. So when hydration is needed then, and when a rest is needed then.
Now, let's move on to the most exciting part, the smart route planning system. Let me demonstrate with the route from point A to point B. As you can see, a regular navigation app might suggest the shortest route, but our system, after running through AI calculation, will recommend the best cool route. The heat alert maps takes into account many details. Are there any building cover or tree shadow along the way? Where is the breeze coolest? And where can you find any shelter from the sun over an underpass? This is the code and platform used to develop the map feature.
Next, we've developed a helmet sensor. This is no ordinary helmet. It's installed with a sensor that can track temperature, humidity, and UV intensity, providing more comprehensive data. Sensors can detect exposure status of delivery workers, such as whether they are exposed to the sun for long periods or intermittently. Our sensor data shows that shady areas can be at least 2 degrees Celsius colder than direct sunlight, valuable information that helps our system issue heat exposure warnings. For example, if today's temperature is 30 degrees Celsius with 90% humidity, our system alerts workers about dangerous heat conditions, helping them stay safe.
Now, some might wonder, why would a company like Uber Eats adopt this system? Wouldn't it be money benefit the delivery workers while the platform bears the cost? Actually, it's a win-win. First, implementing the system helps build up a positive corporate image. Our research shows that when companies prioritize worker well-being, consumer willingness to buy increases significantly. Additionally, ESG standards have become a key measure of corporate responsibility, and the system aligns with all three aspects: environmental protection, corporate governance, and social responsibility.
Beyond that, the helmet sensors continuously collect climate data, which can be turned into an API, creating additional value. Such a large-scale online database can be utilized in the future for various applications. In summary, our system has three components: personalized health alerts to remind delivery workers to hydrate and rest. Second, cool route recommendations for safer and more comfortable deliveries. And the third, helmet-mounted sensors that collect real-time climate data. Our next step is to refine this data into an API for broader applications in weather forecasting, logistics, and insurance. Our project aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, number 8, 10, and 13. Thank you all for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for the project overview. We're going to spend the next 3 minutes. Helen and I are going to ask you some clarifying and probing questions, and then we'll discuss your project pitch, and then you'll have a chance to synthesize and respond. I had a couple questions about the sensor. Was the heat sensor something that you and your group of students did you build the heat sensor, or was that something you could purchase and then basically install on a helmet that could communicate to a phone?
And so for the sensor, it's what we actually can buy on the market, and it's pretty much like the sensor can track any data like what I just mentioned. There's UV, there's like temperature and humidity, and we actually got the device here. So here you can see the sensor is installed on the top of the helmet, so it's right here, and you can see there is also a battery right here. I don't know if it's clearly shown. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So the sensor, we just buy that from anywhere else and just installed it. But for the algorithm and other road recommendation, all those things, we write it like the code ourselves.
Okay, got it. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you came to choose delivery drivers as the group that you would be the community partners that you'd be collaborating with, and then tell us a little bit more about how have you found success finding delivery drivers that are willing to put these on their helmets?
Okay. So first off, we get all our information from like open source data, and the informations include like there's a term called wind corridor, and which it refers to like those roads or any like pathway in the city that is the coolest. And so we use our algorithm to find these routes and for it to recommend the best suggested pathway. And for the delivery workers for them to willing to like wear these helmets, we just like the way we try to pitch this product is that it can check their health conditions and something like that. So when they are like feel dizzy because of the heat or like because of the sun of like exposure, and they can be like enhance like advancedly, so they can know all this information ahead. So that is actually a win-win. So it's not just like benefit only like one side, but it's actually benefit like all the groups as a whole.
Is that our time for?
No, that was just music going on the back of his. Yeah.
Okay. I am curious. Is my sound coming okay? I had to change locations. Okay, great. There's a bit of an echo in this room. I'm curious if you could talk more about the sensor itself. I know you said you purchased it. It's already something that is pre-made. I'm curious if you guys have played around with the idea of adding maybe something that is maybe even more sustainable, like solar powered sensor or a built-in fan or something like that. What other sensors have you guys played around with, if any, or have ideas?
We have thought about it like before, but why we are doing this, like we don't actually add like any other sensor, is because what we do is we want to check for the sensor. We want to check the first of all is the health condition of delivery workers, and the second is like the microclimate data. And for those information needed, we only just need this sensor. And also because this sensor will be installed on the delivery workers' helmets, so it cannot be like too expensive or like for them not like afford this sensor, because like in the near future maybe like we may like cooperate with companies like Uber Eats, and for them like budget limit is like maybe a key concern. So yeah, that's what we thought. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I had another question, which is your next steps include developing this API for use with other programs, I'm guessing. What do you foresee doing with this data over time, like all the data you're collecting over time?
Okay, so like I had already mentioned, this API can be utilized in the future in many ways. For example, after we have collecting a lot of data, the delivery workers can know which route has lowest temperatures, and they can just go that directly way without getting many exposure from the sun or getting other related illness. And it can also help us for in weather forecasting. For example, humidity and the temperature are the same, and we can look at the former data and found that at this weather condition, which delivery path is the best for the delivery workers. And we think these are the most important things that we will keep doing in the future.
Are there ideas to expand outward beyond the delivery realm?
You mean in other area?
This
And
other.
Also, we're also thinking about if we have to hold a concert, then the concert must not be held in the heat concentrated location, and we can look at the data and found that this location has wind come through and there's the shadows of buildings, then maybe that's the best place for holding a concert.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, and I would like to add it on more. It's like this can be also like implemented in like something like insurance assessment. So for example, like just Joanne mentioned, like the concert, and also this can be also implemented in like delivery industry, like when a supermarket is like offering a card to like deliver a like raw fish or veggies, and that is the time where we need like a crawlers route. Yep. And also you may also think this as like in the future, all this micro like climate data will be gathered, and it will like create a big database. So it can be utilized in many ways.
Yes.
Have you been able to fix any of these sensors to any actual delivery drivers, and to get any feedback and information from a group of delivery drivers yet?
Yeah, we did attempted to like install it and on a delivery workers, but we found it really hard to. So we just tried it on ourselves. So yeah, we installed it on the helmet and actually have like rode the motorcycles in Taipei to try all this data. Yeah.
Okay. And so maybe next steps would be working with groups or trying to find somebody, a delivery worker who would be actually willing to partner with you and wear this and be open to kind of like having his movements tracked, and then also the data collected from their helmet.
Yes, because like we want to like delve deeper into like insights and perspective from the delivery workers, because since we are not in the first line like experiencing all this stuff. Yep.
Helen, do you think you're ready to head into a quick discussion and feedback?
Let's do it. And then while we're talking, students, feel free to just take some notes, because we will ask you to share out at the end what you're taking away from our discussion. What, again, another innovative project. I have to start with that. Again, using the technology of today to, address the concerns we had yesterday. So I want to highlight that again.
Yeah, I found it to be very responsive. This idea of like, I'd never heard the term temperature justice. Mm-hmm. And that's something that is really kind of a generational thing, to where this is something that people are actually experiencing. And I really loved that they were empathetic and thought about communities of people that would be the first impacted. And so I love the responsiveness. And then I also loved that they diversified in their product development in terms of creating three things: an alert system, and then a kind of a guidance, and then also data collection. And so I like that it was diversified. And I think that that's neat for a group of students to be able to kind of delve into three different regions of development. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm. I think also it's very in line with a lot of countries that are moving towards like developing the ESG standards and having regulations for their companies. So this is definitely, like the student said, a win-win for both the employees and the employer. I am curious about the data, like I said, that's being collected. I mentioned, just the data from the sensor, but I'm also interested in hearing how is that data around the personal delivery workers' personal health, like how is that being protected? Or if it's like tracking their movement, is there too much tracking? Will employers use that in ways that we don't expect? So that's something I think should be considered and thought about.
Another thought in my mind is that, when we look at something like temperature justice and climate change, something that could be really useful for something like sensors and understanding kind of like urban heat spaces is we could also measure it to see areas that are most impacted, so that we might actually then do something about those areas. Like how might we I know I recognize we're pretty much done here, but plant more plants, or what might we do to kind of cool those regions as well? Might be another application of the sensors.
Would it be okay to just give like 1 minute to students about their takeaways?
Yeah.
Or less than 1 minute? How tight are we on time?
Okay, thank you for your feedbacks. And I want to mention that we don't track our delivery workers' health condition. We just record it, and we are thinking to develop an app that record their personal information, of course, under protection. And these are just for the notification of hydration and to take rest that are not a tracking system. So this is my response. And yeah, we will still modify our system pretty much because there's still many room to improve. And our next step is to we will still collect more data. We will run our actual model and then gather these data to build up a mini scale database and try if that can work out. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Very
Incredible innovation, incredible work.
Great job.
Congratulations.
Thank you to the team from Putai Senior High School for addressing a timely and critical environmental issue. Let's remain on screen and take a photo together. Before moving on to the next presentations, let's welcome the Vice Principal of LPHS, Ms. Kanchan Gupta.
We now welcome our next honored guest. Joining us from India, please welcome the students of LPHS.
Your project titled Beyond the Switch, Save the Planet One Watt at a Time is a powerful call to action for more mindful energy consumption and sustainability.
Let's give a warm welcome to our friends in India.
Thank you for presenting now. No, they would like to honor principal. Could you please wait 1 minute? I heard somebody would like to honor our principal. This specific.
Should we begin?
Can we start?
Yes.
Please start your presentation.
Good morning, respected teachers, panelists, and my dear friends. I am Prisha Agarwala.
I'm Shaunak Arora. And I'm Brian Rodriguez.
We're here to present our projects, Save the Planet One Watt at a Time. Our focus has been on finding simple, everyday ways to reduce energy and lower our carbon footprint, both at home and in school.
Our main learning goal was to recognize the relationship between our energy consumption and climate change. We recognize how much of our energy consumed comes from non-renewable resources such as fossil fuels. This has created a huge impact on global warming, increase in sea levels, and weather that can be catastrophic to certain places.
The core idea of our project was to replace the use of fossil fuels by using biodegradable materials that are more sustainable. We explored more better ways to use biodegradable materials and to make energy consumption more suitable. This helped in reducing pollution, and the main and the main cause of pollution, which is emission of greenhouse gases. But it also made a significant but small change in our in lowering energy costs.
One of the key tools we used was a carbon footprint calculator. This helped us track our personal and classroom energy use. Using the results, we were able to identify high energy activities, make informed changes to reduce energy consumption, and measure how our small changes were making a big difference. These insights empowered us to take action in real and practical ways.
We recognize that our project is very close to the SDG 7.3. Some of the main goals of SDG 7.3 included using our energy efficiently, reducing energy consumption, and also measuring the small differences in change that can lead to a bigger impact.
We began a journey by noticing an observation. We noticed that frequent heat waves and melting of glaciers was the most visible effect of climate change. Then we asked ourselves a question: how can we as students reduce carbon emissions at school and a home level? This question helped us to guide our actions, research, and our solutions.
We decided to spread our awareness through advertisements, which involved using simple energy practices that can be practiced by anyone at school and at home. We also took a carbon footprint survey at the school community, which allowed us to analyze the data and take steps towards reducing our energy consumption.
For our exhibition and cross-school collaboration, we've planned an engaging and impactful activity. We propose a friendly competition between schools, where each school measures their energy usage throughout a month. They implement the creative strategies to reduce it, and then present their most effective solutions during a virtual meetup. Students will also create short videos showing how they save energy at home and in school, whether it's turning off lights, using solar powered devices, or encouraging others to make greener choices. These videos can be shared via email or presenting during the virtual meetup, allowing the students across schools to learn from each other and celebrate their efforts together. Here are a few links to the YouTube videos and the carbon footprint calculator. Would you
Excellent. Okay, now Helen and I will. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
It really was. And so now Helen and I will open it up for clarifying and probing questions for 3 minutes. I have some questions about your how you were able to measure different types of carbon footprints and measure different energy uses that for your school, and what types of quantitative measurements you found, or how you were able to make those comparisons.
Hi, my name is Shauna Kalora. We used a
Shauna.
carbon footprint survey. The carbon footprint survey asked us several questions about how much energy we used yearly, annually, how many miles we traveled by car, electric trains, electric buses, electric cars, and how we implemented these changes by reducing our electricity usage at home by switching off lights. This, in turn, these small changes added to a drastic change. As you saw in the presentations, it changed from 25.3 to 22 by reducing our electricity consumption.
Within that, were you able to identify any main culprits, or were there any significant components of energy usage that stood out more than others as being, areas where a lot of energy was used?
Yes, the heat is very effective over here and it is quite hot during the summer months. So we noticed that majority of the time, many people keep their ACs on even when they don't require it. So what we decided to do was that once we felt that the weather was, that the temperature inside the room was pleasant again, we decided to switch off the AC, and then when it got hot again or when the heat started to rise again, we switch it on for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. And yes, the amount of time we spend on our devices, it requires us to charge our devices quite often, and which causes high usage of electricity. I mean, it was one of the majority of the cases where our electricity bills rise because of that. So we ended up reducing our time on the devices so that we didn't have to charge them as often.
In terms of your school competition, which I love to hear about, to kind of build that community amongst the whole school, did you also include initiatives that were done at home as well? I heard you mention you advertised that, but was that also part of the competition?
Yes, correct. Yes, we would measure our electricity bills at home to see how well we understood the topic and how we're learning how to implement it in real life to help the climate improve and reduce global warming.
Wonderful. I think that is about our 3 minutes. So I'm ready to move on to discussion and feedback.
Great. I was really interested in this idea of how we measure our energy usage. And it seems like the kind of initially that they found the energy survey that's allowing them to, and the carbon footprint survey that's allowing them kind of an initial understanding. And I think it would be really interesting to kind of go deeper with that and start to learn how to like quantify your energy use. And, like they've already been able to identify that like air conditioning is a big one, charging devices another, but to start to do that kind of in-house and better understand their own energy use, it seems so interesting to me.
Yeah, and I think taking that data and then making next steps beyond just, let's use our devices less. I really liked how when they noticed the issue with the AC, they had a very specific plan. This is just the protocol. If it gets too hot, we are going to turn it on, but only for 10 to 15 minutes and then turn it off. So kind of having those real world applications that can come out of that data, like, hey, we're using this a lot, let's address it this way. I think that was really awesome.
And I think that there's this great complexity to kind of these ideas of like carbon footprint and changes. When a lot of times we think of like, well, that light bulb uses a lot of energy, so let's get rid of that light bulb and let's put an LED there. And there's certain energy costs when we do get a new light bulb that is going to be delivered to our house, and that has its own carbon footprint. And the production of that light bulb has its own carbon footprint. And so we start to look at when and where and how, and the kind of the complexities of actually saving energy and resources is very complicated.
But I do also think that speaks to why those next steps are really important. So like, yes, we know we're wasting this or we're using a lot of this. How can we make a better choice that is more sustainable? Not just like what action am I necessarily doing, but how does it play out? Like, am I going to buy from a local company versus a company where I have to get it shipped and then the delivery costs rise, etc. And I think that those are really big questions that I think could eventually be asked. I think another next step could be just scaling this up. How can we now make this a district competition or, state by state competition so that the initiative continues to grow and the buy-in from the community only gets larger?
I thought that was interesting, the idea of the school competitions that grows into kind of community competitions. I found it interesting that their current plan is to use email to share that. And I wondered, and this is an assumption on my part, I'm not sure where their community is at with something like social media, but I also think that like social media is a place that might be easier to put or to like create kind of a platform on some sort of social media platform where this type of competition could be shared. But I don't know if that would be feasible.
One other warm piece of feedback that I want to give is I really love the variety of ways that they offered as ways to make those tiny changes in our lives. A lot of times when we hear about making eco-friendly choices, people feel like, well, I can't afford to change this. I don't have the time to take the bus, right? But there was such a wide variety of options that they provided that it really felt doable. Like I could make these little changes and have a big impact.
Right. It just kind of increases the circumference of potential partnerships in terms of like participation. Like you can involve so many different stakeholders in your community in this, whether it's a school that you're involving or a family that you're involving or one student that you're involving. Like the potential for engagement with the work is really accessible.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And so again, very relevant to the needs of today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to invite you at this time to just, take an opportunity to share back what you've heard and what possible new directions or next steps you might have.
Yes, correct. You were talking about scaling the project on community. I suggest we perform street plays instead of promoting it on social media. Sure, we can do that to an extent, but street plays will also bring out the creativity in people. They will help them, and it also supports digital detoxification, where you find a time where to spend away from your phone and you look out into the real world.
Wonderful.
Hosting inter-school or competitions will also be a way to enroll some competitiveness and cross-school participation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you to our presenters from LPHS for highlighting how small changes can create big impact. Your work reminds us that awareness leads to action. Oh, please remain on screen as we take a group photo to commemorate your efforts.
I think they want a picture.
Up next is the second presentation from OPHS. Their project is titled Global Emotional Resilience, Connecting Hearts and Healing Minds. Let's welcome the presenters again with a second round of applause.
Please give us a moment as we prepare the second team.
Slideshow. Good morning, everybody. Today, we are the students from Leelavati Vai Podar High School, and today we are going to be presenting on our project, Global Emotional Resilience, Connecting Hearts, Healing Minds. My name is Arum Milkani.
My name is Alaya Singha. My name is Arisha Singha. Our project builds emotional awareness and strengthens mental resilience by adopting sustainable wellness practices proven in the world's blue zones, contributing to early risk reduction and long-term health outcomes. Blue zones are places in the world where people lead emotionally well and healthy lifestyles, resulting in longer life expectancy. Our learning goals for this project are: we help peers through an emotional well-being questionnaire to understand the emotional state and make them aware, and because of that they came up with coping mechanisms. They recognized the source of their stressors and came up with ideas for leading healthier lifestyles. Foster leadership and peer collaboration for creating emotionally aware and happy school environments is another goal that our students participated in. We cultivated global partnerships with other schools to share and learn wellness practices across cultures. The students got encouraged to follow Blue Zone principles, and they relate now to mental health after doing their routines. Our learning outcomes for these goals were: we designed and analyzed a wellness questionnaire that we gave them to help them cope with their emotional health. After recognizing the emotional stressors and applying coping mechanisms like mindfulness and purposeful living, they were able to cope with their state. We created safe spaces, physical and digitally, where peers can reflect, connect, and grow emotionally. We participated in global collaborations and understood and shared emotional wellness strategies. The students got encouraged with the Blue Zone inspired routines, and now they follow the methods to help them cope, like they daily walk, eating healthy, they do social bonding, and they control their screen time for digital detox.
There are various corresponding SDGs to this program. SDG 3, Good Health and Well-being, focuses on the emotional and physical well-being of the students and all people around the globe. SDG 17, Partnership for the Goals. If everyone partners to make an emotionally sound and living community, it may affect many people and their lives, which may lead to a happier lifestyle towards the people.
Our essential or drive-in question that encourages us to go ahead and grow our project is: how can Blue Zone inspired habits be adapted to school communities to build emotional resilience and create healthier, more connected lives for adolescents worldwide? To answer our question, we embrace lifestyle principles from the world's blue zones, such as physical activity, healthy eating habits, strong social ties, mindfulness practices, and a sense of purpose. Considering time spent in school as a platform to develop emotional awareness, manage stress, and build healthier daily habits. These practices create ripple effects of positivity, empathy, and resilience, fostering an inclusive and emotionally strong learning environment.
NGOs such as the Missionaries of Charity, which is a global NGO, which only focuses on old people's mental health, as mental health becomes one of the most important things as age
comes, and also in the starting, as if you're not emotionally sound in the starting years of your life, it may affect your life ahead. Rotary Club, another international NGO, which helps people understand their emotional state and it makes them understand the importance of having an emotionally sound welfare. St. Catherine's Home is a local NGO which is helping students as well as adults to cope up with their daily work and not take stress and anxiety.
Our cross-school sharing strategies were Emotional Wellbeing Showcase. We hosted presentations with videos. We participated in artwork competitions like the Art Portrait competition where students express their emotions, and testimonials on implementing emotional health routines. Pen pal or buddy circles. We encouraged we encouraged emotional bonding with each other and supported them across countries. Shared wellness challenges. We co-hosted activities like Gratitude Week. We will co-host activities like Gratitude Week or Mindful Mornings across schools internationally. Collaborative journals. We will exchange digital or physical journals with partner schools, sharing emotional reflections and self-care routines. A global Blue Zone Schools network partner with others. We will partner with other schools to share how each one adapts Blue Zone habits into school life.
Now we have a simple website showing how other schools can also participate. Global emotional resilience. Our basic topic is to ensure healthy lives and promote emotional well-being for all students at all ages, inspired by Blue Zone livings. We want to integrate principles like strong social bonds, mindfulness, movement, so people have a purpose. They feel that they have a purpose and they are emotionally well. Learning goals and outcomes is to apply Blue Zone habits to build resilience, movement, purpose, social ties, to create a happy environment. Analyze emotional health through wellness surveys for people to understand the emotional state and work on them. Create safe emotional reflection spaces and lead to mindful activities for activities which can help them increase their emotional well-being. Connect with global students to share emotional wellness strategies, as many people may have different ways to cope up with emotional well-being. This is a good way to understand how other students do it in other countries too. Various project activities such as the Blue Zone awareness campaign, which can be hosted to make other countries which are not exactly blue zones to learn from blue zone countries and how they are emotionally well and happy. A wellness questionnaire was provided to the students which made them understand the emotional state. Many blue zone corners, for example, a small area or an ecosystem, just like a school, can become a blue zone if they follow the right emotional well-being if they follow the right emotional well-being ways to become a blue zone. Then movement breaks, for example, like only learning or only playing can also affect our emotional state. There should be a balance within life. A digital detox challenge which can help students to take time away from their screen and go and experience real life adventures and activities which may help them calm their brain down. Now we have a global collaboration and impact which can help schools from different countries come together and share their views on how to and what stress relief activities do they do in their countries. Click the green button. Like this. This is a Google Drive which was on the website, which can allow other schools or even a small community such as offices to tell students and to give advice to students how they can be emotionally well and how it helps their life ahead. Go back to the website. Go back to the PPT. Thank you.
Okay, Helen, so we got about 3 minutes to ask some clarifying questions. I'd like to ask a couple questions about collaborators. It sounds like there was kind of a lot of community connection that happened on the back of your project where you were able to share ideas and share experiences with other schools and kind of like share information. But I'd like to know your main resources or your main partners in getting this information? Like where did you seek or find, or where did you learn most of this information about wellness from?
All the information about wellness was taken by a survey and a questionnaire which was given to the students in our school. We understood the emotional state of the students and how they do not take stress and anxiety really well. And they may think it's a disadvantage, but we want to get rid of that first at a school level, going to inter schools, and then at a national level. As if the people who are you with or the company which are emotionally sound, it creates a better impact, and you're more emotionally well during a day.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious to hear a little bit and learn a little bit from you around what mental health looks like in India, and if in America we have there's a lot of stigma sometimes around taking care of mental health and how we treat um, our mental health. So I'm curious to hear if you had to break down any stereotypes about focusing on mental health or any stigma around that.
Yes, basically in India, peer pressure is really common, and also our parents, due to our academics, is pretty common. As we want expectations also is really high. So mostly stress and anxiety is caused due to not performing well or not, or comparing between two students. Or we would like to get rid of that.
Okay, great, thank you. One other, maybe it's quick, I'm not sure. I'm curious about number 4 of your cross-school sharing strategies. What does a collaborative journal look like? Do you have pictures on your website or an example of what students have written in those journals?
Yes. So we think that we can create school magazines on a school level, and we can share them with other schools. And so so when the other schools do, the other schools can also share their process and and update. And we all will, there can be articles on the state and information about our emotional health and mental fitness. And we would use pictures, and use descriptions and poems and quotes to like let them really understand how about emotional well-being, and use positive affirmations also.
Thank you.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about the questions in your questionnaire. And so you created a questionnaire or had access to a questionnaire, and then how did you assess the responses from those questionnaires and come up with then a response or advice or direction for whoever took that?
Yes, so we had basically we had a few questions, and we had a rating scale of 1 to 5. So 1 means that you're not really affected by it and you do not do it really often, or 5 means you're really affected by it, you do it extremely often. So this, and in the end, by adding up the scores, we could understand by an average if they are about their resilience, their empathy towards other students, their self motivation, and self awareness about the emotional state.
And was it you that determined that assessment, or is that something that was there a clinical assessment of this, or?
No, there was no clinical test, but by adding up the scores, we there was a rating scale. Like for example, from like if you got a score from like 20 to 30, you're not really emotionally well. But if you got a score from 20 to 30, you're really emotionally well. But if you got a score from like 60 to 70, you're not really emotionally well. And then there were ways listed that how ways were told to the students how they can become more emotionally well, and how they can modify their lifestyle to suit their emotionally if they're emotionally well, and how they can develop more happiness during their life.
Great.
Great job, guys. John, are you ready to move on to discussion and feedback?
I am, yeah.
Let's do it. Students, at this time, we'll just give you guys some feedback, some celebrations, and some some maybe ideas and thoughts. So please take notes, and we'll have you share out what you heard back or heard from us. Excuse me.
So something that I really loved that I would want to celebrate about this project is that the entire design is one that kind of shifts this idea to where school is a place for wellness. And I thought that was really that was really great, kind of a shift in the narrative. I think oftentimes we think of like, you can learn about wellness at school, but wellness is to be practiced outside of school. And I really like that it was kind of this whole idea of introducing wellness, but then also like practicing wellness within school environments, and then encouraging other schools to participate in these kind of wellness activities. So I just loved the whole idea of the suggestion of like school as a place for wellness. I thought that it was really strong.
And I think that from what I heard, the students say is that, in their community, school and parents have often been a source of that anxiety or stress, and now they're flipping it, right? They're taking and shifting the mindset of adults, like this is a place actually where to do well academically, we need to take care of ourselves as well. Like we need to be well enough in physical, body, and mental as well.
I thought also in the beginning of the project, they shared their essential question. I thought it was a really strong essential question. And I thought it was like very readable and, kind of easy to understand. I thought that was wonderful. I keep wondering about how we're collecting information and how we're assessing this information about wellness. Things like wellness and the assessment of wellness is really complicated and tricky. And so to be able to, to be able to make those types of assessments is a tricky thing. I'd love to hear more about like, who are their partnerships? Where are they getting this information? Is that information reliable? Is that information vetted before making types of like assessments and then giving advice or recommendations about different things? It sounds like most of the recommendations they're giving are ones that are always going to be good, which is like, use technology less, go on walks, get outside, de-stress and things like that. But I think it is important when you're assessing people's wellness that you're able to do that in a way that is, I guess, safe and reliable and vetted.
Yes. It makes me think of mental health audits that some organizations do. So that could be a next step that they look into. How do organizations do mental health audits? And one last thing, I just want to say how refreshing it is to hear now two groups talk about digital detox. So it's very nice to hear young people also want to get off their screens. It's not just old people telling you guys, hey, don't use your phone so much.
I wonder if they want to get off their screens or if they know they should get off their screens. A lot like me.
Yes. So thank you for the feedback. So the first question was that how do we assess this mental well-being, or how do we calculate it? First, calculating or understanding your physical well-being is really easy, but mental health well-being is not exactly cannot be calculated, but can be understood. That if you are physically well, it can be calculated by psychiatrists and psychologists. But at a school level, we have awareness is the first step, and getting awareness about your emotional state may help in various tasks in your day-to-day life. Then so this is how we calculated the emotional well-being of the students. We made them aware about their emotional state. And about the students, look, we cannot completely cut off the screen time, as many of the studies and also general knowledge is also on a phone or a device. But controlling the device usage time, and for things which are not really necessary and do not we do not learn anything new, such as for entertainment, we can cut it down at least a little bit, so it detoxes their brain. Even if a cut down for 20 to 30 minutes a day about the screen time, which is not for entertainment, and if that time is used for physical activities or even for going out and taking a walk, it may help them calm their mind down and be more well for the next day.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. I really appreciated your presentation.
Thank you to the second team of OPHS. Let's remain on the screen for a group photo. As we near the end of this incredible forum, we invite Mr. John Santos and Ms. Helen Shao to lead us in a final panel discussion and closing reflection.
They'll share some takeaways from today's presentations and offer insights on how we as young leaders can continue driving change in our schools and communities.
Let's welcome Mr. Santos and Ms. Shao one more time.
I'm happy to start. I just want to start off again by recognizing and thanking Principal Tong, Miss Winnie Wong, and Miss Yvette Chiang for creating a platform where students can bring ideas, perspectives, their passions, their interests, and their voices. I think it's incredible that we've been able to create an opportunity for students from the United States, from India, and Taiwan to come together to share ideas. And so I wanted to thank you for allowing us this platform tonight. I also want to celebrate the students for taking advantage of this opportunity and making so much from this opportunity. It's been clear hearing from the students that the passion that you've brought to this. It's very strong, incredible collaborations. You've been thoughtful, you've been innovative, and that I think most of your thinking is oriented towards problem solving and creating solutions for the global community. I've just found it to be very impressive. A lot of times we talk about this idea of like things in the real world are changing at a rapid rate. And they say, but what are we talking about when they say things are changing? And there's a reality to what's changing is there's global climate change is changing really rapidly. Technology is changing really rapidly. Social disparities and health and wellness, these are things that are changing really rapidly. And what's impressive is to see what we've chosen, what the student panel or student groups have chosen to focus on tonight. It really comes around these things that are changing quickly outside of the school walls. And that students have chosen to kind of bring that into the school learning experiences is really incredible. That the focal points of your learning has just felt very relevant. It's felt very authentic. It's felt bigger. And what I think I've been most impressed by is if students were to wait for teachers to bring this type of learning in, it's already too late. And that you've brought this in with such immediacy and been so attentive to these very real world issues has been incredibly impressive. Something else that we need to touch on, Helen and I, is your presentations. Being able to communicate with an audience effectively, being able to share ideas, being able to share your innovations in a way that is understandable and that is received, let alone many of you are doing this in a language that isn't your first language, is beyond impressive. I'm just so grateful to have been invited. I'm so impressed with all of your ideas. I'm very impressed by how receptive you've all been to both receiving celebrations of your designs, but also the feedback. To me, it's very promising as an educator. This is something that I'm passionate about is learning and collaborating around learning and seeing where learning goes. I want my career to be something that is forever changing. I don't want to come tomorrow and do the same thing that I did today. And what you've brought is the promise of change and advancement in education and in learning. And what I'm inspired by is that we've been able to come together tonight and here we've created a connection, a global connection of people that are passionate about learning and passionate about the problem solving and solution finding for our global community. And so wonderful job to all of you. Congratulations on a ton of hard work that we know that we recognize that you've put into this. We've been so impressed and we're so grateful to have been part of this forum tonight. So thank you for inviting me. And congratulations on your incredible hard work.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for being open to the feedback and open to sharing. I know that it's not always easy to present, especially as John mentioned, in a different language to adults that you may not have met before. And so I was just overall very impressed. And I think tonight really, it really was a platform for what true innovation looks like. And it's not just the ideas. I think it's, and the actual projects that you did. I think the innovation is even to be able to imagine a better world. And each of the projects, I think, reflected that. It really was living out the spirit of the 17th SDG. So not only just coming up with these ideas, but then sharing it across countries. It really shows the change that can happen when we build these partnerships and when we learn together, dream together, build together. Another thing I did want to highlight too was how your projects prove how young people are, when young people are trusted to lead, you rise to the challenge and go above and beyond it. So now you've not only turned this learning into actions, you've also made it a platform for other countries to engage in that work with you. And so it's just a reminder that, one of the things that I always say in my classes is that you are the future, and you really are. The future isn't something that we wait around for. It's something that we build, and you guys are building it today, and you've built it and will continue to build it. So I applaud all of the students who participated today. It was amazing to see your work, and I am so grateful for our hosts who have this platform for you to share out and really live that last SDG. Thank you.
As we draw this inspiring forum to a close, we would now like to invite Principal Tong of Chingching Academy to the stage to deliver a few final words.
Please join us in welcoming Principal Tong with a warm round of applause.
首先，谢谢我们今天2位讲座，还有我们来自不同学校的5个团队，今天过来围绕在 SDGs 的相关的一个题目来跟大家来一个分享。那在这边我也特别谢谢我们今天能够促成我们这半天的一个国际的论坛，特别谢谢我们研华教育基金会对我们这个活动的一个支持。那我也期许我们坐在这边的我们的同学们，那对于 SDGs 的主题，我们要更多的关注，也期许你们跟今天的报告的各个学校的团队一样，开始可以实践，开始可以发想你们的主题。希望你们明年的时候也有这方面的一些展现出来。那最后，谢谢我们今天的我们能够圆满的把今天的那个活动把它办成。很重要的是，我们谢谢我们的尽心的团队，在之前的有很多的 筹备、很多的联系，还有我们的后台有很多的支持，他们都很辛苦。那最后祝福大家身体健康，万事如意，谢谢大家。
Thank you, Principal Tong, for those heartfelt and motivating words. At this time, we would like to invite all of the Chingxing students presenters who participated in today's forum to come up on stage. This includes students from both the grade 9 and grade 11 teams. And for our online presenters, thank you for joining us virtually. Your contributions were just as impactful and deeply appreciated. We will now present certificates of participation to all student teams. These recognize your dedication, hard work, and the global spirit you brought to this event. We invite Ms. Winnie Wong and Principal Tong to come forward to present their certificates to our Chingxing students. Before we officially conclude, we'd like to invite all participants to stay on stage for a group photo. We ask the Chingxing student teams to remain on stage, and we'll also display our international student teams on the big screen. Let's capture this special moment together. Students from Taiwan, India, and the US, all united in the spirit of global action. To everyone who joined us today, from our passionate student presenters to our devoted teachers, mentors, and guests, thank you for making this forum such a powerful and memorable event. Together, we've explored how the next generation is already taking action to build a more sustainable, compassionate, and connected world. Before we close, we'd like to kindly remind everyone to fill out the feedback form for today's forum. Your thoughts and reflections are incredibly valuable in helping us improve future events. And for all student participants, please note that completing the feedback form is mandatory. You can scan the QR code on the screen or post it near the exit to access the form. We really appreciate your time and sharing your experience. It makes a big difference. We hope you leave today feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to carry forward the message of the ACT Dreamer Forum. Thank you once again, and we wish you a wonderful afternoon. See you on our next global gathering. Until then, let's continue to act, dream, and make change together. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe and Helen. I will be in touch. Thank
You're
you so
very
much.
welcome. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for including us in tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you. What
We'll
a successful
be
evening.
looking forward to your email. Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Good night. Bye.
谢谢今天与会的来宾。那我们今天的研习的回馈问卷填写呢，在上面的 QR code。那我们外面也有准备今天的午餐便当。那请人离开的时候要记得拿便当，谢谢。